Hi, this is Jill from Young at Heart Designs. Today I'm going to be creating a napkin holder using the Chanticleer mold from IOD. I created this mold with the clear resin and started painting that with the Paint Couture's Duck Egg chalk paint and gave that several coats of the chalk paint, making sure that all the little nooks and crannies have the paint inside. Love this color. This is my second go round with this color. I've used it on a lot of things. It looks blue in the video, but it is more of a blue-green. All right, so the middle part of the napkin holder I'm creating with some small little rectangles that come in a bag from the woodpile section of Hobby Lobby. They come in a pack with circles and rectangles and ovals, and I use them for a lot of different things. Those are great little things. So what I did is I glued 2 or 3 of those together. I believe this maybe just 2. And painted that with the same color paint, the chalk egg, the duck egg blue in the chalk paint. And I let that dry really good. You have to be a little bit careful because once that heat tool kind of will cause the resin to get a little flimsy a little bit, so you have to be a little bit careful. But I'm painting the back as well because that part is going to be showing on the higher part of the rooster. So I want to make sure that that looks nice and neat as well. This is a great mold. I've used it many times and I just love it. I love French Provincial, and of course the rooster is very much in that style. All right, and so what I'm going to be doing on the edge, 2 of the edges of that little block that I've painted is I'm going to be using the IOD Trimmings 2 mold coming up in just a minute, and I'm going to use that as so that it has a little bit of decor on the block itself. So I'm using the Sculpey air dried clay. I love this brand. I usually don't have any problem with it releasing. I know a lot of people use the cornstarch dusting prior, but I really don't have any problem, and so far this has been my favorite air dry clay to use. And so what I did was I used the little flower trimming, and it's hard to see the details right now, but I just cut it with a little paint scraper there, and I'm going to paint it with the same chalk paint as well. I had to be a little bit careful. I use a different brush. I use a round brush that's a little bit softer because this clay is still wet and I don't want to dent the design of the mold. So next I'm taking Paint Couture's Van Dyke Brown glaze, and after that has dried, I'm going in on that where the mold was and adding that so that it gets down into the nooks and cranny. I put it on the block itself, but I end up painting over that later. But the reason why you want to use the glaze is because there's so many beautiful details in these molds. And if you don't use a glaze to kind of get down into the deepest part of the mold, you kind of miss and you really don't see all the details. So that's why I do it. I misted it with a little bit of water to get down in there. It helps move the glaze a bit. Not only does it help you see the details, but it also can give you that more antique look. And if you don't like that look, I guess you could leave that out or use maybe a lighter color. Brown sugar is another pretty color. But then I take a baby wipe and I'm wiping that back because obviously I want my duck egg blue to show. But as you can tell already, from afar, you can see more detail in that rooster. Due to the glaze. Okay, so I'm trying to get it dry a bit because now that I've got the glaze down into the crevices of the deep part of the mold, then I'm going to be using a product by Deco Art. I think it's called Metallic Luster in Gold. And now I'm going to be rubbing the high points, and I just put a little bit on my finger, just a little bit at a time, and just rub on top, and that's going to highlight all of the high points of the mold. And that really brings out a lot of the details. I mean, this rooster has beautiful little eyes. You can't see it, but once you put the gold on, or that, you know, they come in different colors, but I use gold. Everything just really starts to stand out, and he's just beautiful. And you can use as much or as little of that as you want. And like I say, I just put a little bit on my finger at a time because that way I can control it better. And you can also go back once that's dried a little bit with a soft cloth, and you know, the luster will, as you rub it a little bit, it'll shine bright. You can also use Rub and Buff if you have that instead. Same type concept. So I took the Tight Bond glue, the Quick and Thick glue, and now I'm gluing Chanticleer on both sides, leaving it so that the front and back part, you can see the trimmings mold there. Now what I did here is some of that glaze had got on the back side. I thought I was using a mineral paint and then realized I was using chalk paint. The mineral paint has a top coat, which you can wipe back once the glaze gets on there. The chalk paint, it shows a little bit more, so I went back on the parts that were showing, and I just wanted to make sure it looked fresh and didn't look dingy on that side. So that's what I'm doing right here. I'm just touching up, giving it another fresh coat on the parts that are going to show, and just making sure that it looked neat and clean. This was a fun little project to make. You could do this with many of the molds from IOD. And there you go. There he is in all his glory, Chanticleer. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you like this, hit subscribe, leave me a note, and let me know if you enjoyed this program. All right, we'll see you next time.